Okay, greetings from the recovery room of Racism Non-Anonymous. I am making this video. I've just been listening to a broadcast on Blog Talk Radio with Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And towards the end of the broadcast, she was responding to questions. And in her response, she suggested that, of course, it's important for us to begin to practice producing justice. And that one of the ways that we could be countering racism and replacing it with justice was by engaging in the 10 stops that Millie Fuller talked about. One of those stops being that black people would stop um, sort of putting down other black people for personal gain. It was something to that effect. And as I thought about that, I, I hear some of the terms that are used in those stops for me become questionable because they leave open. They're very broad. They're very general. For example, it was about gossiping. One of them, it was like, stop gossiping about other black people. Now, for me, it becomes crucial to differentiate gossip from telling your truth of when you have been harmed by another black person. During the broadcast with Dr. Welsing on that Blog Talk Radio show with Brother Ramesses, she spoke for 3 hours, and early on in her presentation, she encouraged us to talk about the system of racism, to recognize it, to remember, and to talk about it in order to sort of bring it into the forefront of our minds and our awareness of it as a system and how it works. So that in order to talk about it, which this program of Racism Non-Anonymous is set up for us to do, to talk about our experiences, the strengths of them, and our plans related to our experiences with racism, white supremacy. One of those, it means that I'm going to talk about experiences where I have been harmed by another black person. Now, that may seem as if I'm gossiping about that black person. And to include or add, as I heard her do, the notion that we not gossip for personal gain. It's like, For me, I have to say for myself, when I have talked about experiences that I've had with other black people, it has not been for, it's been for my personal gain only in the sense that it allows me the chance to get it, to talk about it, to get it out of my mind, to get it out of my heart, to process it in order to make sense and come to clarity of understanding about it, and to obtain resolution, emotional resolution for myself. That is the only personal gain that I get and that we will get by practicing the program of Racism Non-Anonymous. So for me, it's important, like, to use a word like stop gossiping. It's very broad and it's very general. And I suggest that it is time for us to mm, become more specific in our language and in our focus and in our purpose. So it's, for the moment, I don't have a replacement. It's sort of like upgrading on the information that our elders have laid out. It's about growing, it's about building upon what they laid out. in that regard, the 10 stops in and of themselves, that they have provided a foundation for how we may begin to behave as African descendants in our efforts to counter the system of racism. I believe they were just that. They were a foundation. And now it's about beginning to build on that. It's beginning to really think about, tease out, and become more specific and focused to support the intent behind the development of those 10 stops. Now, I had this sort of conversation on Facebook a few months ago with one of my Facebook friends who declared on his page that, he didn't deal with any gossip and blah, blah, blah. And myself and another sister worked to engage in conversation with him about that. And for me, part of that conversation was being able to differentiate gossip from work in this program of recovery. And in the end, the brother became seemingly very upset by how the conversation went, and then he ended up deleting the whole conversation, which I found very unfortunate, because you just deleted my words, and I would have liked to have saved that for myself and for foundation to build on what I was saying, but he deleted it and erased it before I could copy and paste it. If I had known he was going to delete it, I would have copied my stuff, and I would have copied his response, because at any rate, and I'll leave that, I would have copied it. I would have wanted to have it, for later review. At any rate, I just think it's important, because as I listen to those stops now, a few of them represent some very broad, generalized statements, and I think it's important for us to begin to be more specific and focused. And this program of Racism Not Anonymous is certainly designed to support us with talking about our experiences, strengths, and plans in the system of racism. And the first step of this program is recognizing that we have all been programmed in this system. So what that means in terms of, if I talk about the experiences that I'm having with another black person that is causing me harm, I recognize that that person has in fact been programmed to cause me harm as a black person, because that is how the system of racism is designed. It is a system that is established to cause harm to people who are not classified as white, or aka people of African descent, aka black people, for the benefit and gain of white people. And because we as black people have been programmed into that system, we tend to cause other black people harm for not our personal gain as black people, because the gain is always going to white people and a system of racism, white supremacy. So for me to call out and expose and or talk about the experience of how black people harm me, the intent is for me, my personal gain in terms of healing, B, to help other African descendants and that person in particular who caused me the harm to know that what they have done has in fact caused me harm. That gives them an opportunity to look at their own behaviors and take some corrective action, and to employ justice by giving me the help that I need in that situation. And so that, I just wanted to share on that. I wanted to have a chance to do another video, because I haven't done so in a good little while, and I wanted to test out this here thing and see if it worked well and see how it works. And So I want to take the opportunity. There's so many more things that I intend to talk about as I continue to build upon the work that Dr. Welsing and others in her generation brought forward for us, the foundation that they've laid. And, again, I intend to continue to share more of my work and how it is and certainly intended, and because it does, in fact, build upon those foundations and to support our continued growth, development, health, and our welfare as people of African descent. So that's all for now. I'm going to see how this works in terms of uploading. So thanks for listening to me share. Until next time, stay safe.